we go louder on this? All right, dude. We're gonna do our intro and then we'll be ready to go. Okay? All right. We're on. All right. Welcome to a very special edition of Pack Chatter. I'm Tony Seiler, and with me, as always, is my man Todd Shesky. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not too much. How you doing this morning?
I'm awesome. We are at the beautiful Hook and Spoon restaurant on Canisius Lake in Lakeville, New York, for a full day of cyclocross, and we're going to get right into the interviews. We'll talk about the show and some of the other stuff in a bit, but right now, live with us, we have the man from Squid Squad, Anthony Clark. What's up, buddy? How you feeling today? Nice. Have you pre-ridden the course at all? How's it look? Powers told me yesterday 70% running, so maybe that's a little bit better.
How's it changing? How's the course changing from yesterday? I mean, you guys had a lot of rain last couple of days. Is it starting to tack up a little bit, or is it still really sloppy? Or all right, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise to you get your recon ride when you burn a couple laps out there, right?
Nice. So you've had a stellar year this year. You've had great results at Gloucester, Pan Am, Reno, last weekend at Ruts and Guts. What's that do going in for you to this compared to maybe past seasons where you've had good years, but maybe not as good? You had 4 wins this year. Is the mindset different this year? Do you feel different about the race at all going in this year?
Hold on a second.
But I can't hear what he's saying. Yeah. All right. Hold tight, bro.
Just text him and tell him we're having a little technical.
Can we run it like we ran Powers? This one? Just so that, with the video?
Powers was for FaceTime.
All right. What's that?
Powers was for FaceTime.
Yeah, but you just recorded it, right? This way?
FaceTime. I don't know if I could record it onto it. What are you going to do while we're live?
I don't know, but we don't have any audio here, so. What's that?
You stand here with it.
You want me to stand over here?
Yeah, I'll put them on the thing now.
All right. All right. It's not on you, it's us, man. We're trying to get to where I can hear you, but we're recording your audio. Yeah, we can hear you. It's our hookup. All right. All right, you ready to keep going? All right. Did you get that last question about the lead in or no? Dan? Dan, did you get that?
Just talking.
All right. All right. So tell me a little bit about the prep going in. You've got 4 wins this year. You've had big results at some big races. Is it different this year, or is it always the same Anthony going in?
I think this year I'm more excited about racing. I'm not as like I really think training too hard all the way through the off season, and I just have so much more motivation to train this time past. And I guess the difference this year is I don't really put expectations on anything. I just go ride. You know, I do the work and I just go race my bike. I don't overthink things anymore. It's kind of like when you go on a date with a girl. You don't want to overthink it, man. You just want to do it, you know, just be yourself. So that's what I do with racing now. And it's been a lot better. The whole year's been better, a lot less stress. I just really, like, love racing my bike instead of being stressed about racing my bike. And I noticed, like, just all the way around it's been better. So I'm just really excited to race Nats and make the world, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you got a great shot there. Does the mud in the course help you as a racer? Do you run better than everybody else? You got good handling skills? Is that something you like as a factor, or would you prefer it to be a drier course?
I don't know. I think I like to think myself I'm decent at running, and I'm pretty good technically, but everybody I race with is all really good, and I guess I don't really know what kind of course favors me, so I just kind of line up and just try to just go 100%.
How's Gage coming into this race change the dynamic? The field's pretty stacked as it is, and then he kind of does his late entry. What's that do for you guys?
He's gonna put the hurt on. Like, Gage, like you'll be in a race with Gage, and you're like, oh, all right, cool. Like 3 laps in, you know, you're with them, and then all of a sudden he just decides not to ride with anybody. Rides away. He's really strong, and I don't know how he is in deep mud, but it's one of those things that Gage, really fresh because he, you know, with some injuries, he hasn't been racing as much. So Hyde is going to be really hungry and really strong. Powers is back to super strong. It's just going to be a really good race. I think people are going to be going back and forth here. Amazing. Cody's really good at riding technically. I just think it's going to be a really good race.
How about the injuries? How did that play into that as well? You've had Powers has been out most of the year. Hyde's been out. Jamie Driscoll's not racing. Tobin's not racing. It's kind of been a big deal for the field. Does that make it a little more of a question mark because some of these guys who've dominated have been injured?
I think it's going to play a huge factor because I myself have traveled and raced a bunch this year, and like I feel really good, but you never know how that's going to play out when you line up for nationals. As even really fresh, I guess you never really know. You know, it's like it's one of those things. Like I don't really think about it. I just hope for the best and go ride with my friends. I'm really happy to see Steve back 100%. Powers, I'm super happy to see back in racing, phenomenal. And you know, I feel bad about Tobin and James. I hope to see them really soon.
For sure. How about White and Hyde being on the same team? Does that affect the dynamics of the race? Do you guys have to approach that differently, or are they kind of out there on their own, you think?
I think they're on their own, and Curtis is a freaking beast. Now, it's another guy that's just so strong, and he's such a good runner.
For sure. How about the women's side? Your teammate, Sammy, she won a national championship earlier this week. She's going into a pretty big race. What do you think about going into that race? What do you think will happen there?
I don't know. Barringer's super hungry and been on really good form. Of course, you know, Ellen's always phenomenal when it's technical and off-roady. You have Katie Keogh. Tammy's been amazing lately. I would love to see him get on the podium. Obviously, I would love to see him because I think that's years. The thing with racing is to see people go forward, come backward. You're going to see people go 10th into 5th just because it's going to be so unpredictable conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That should really affect the outcome in both races for sure. You think that those conditions favor Compton because she's been racing overseas, where maybe she's seen a little bit harder courses over there?
I don't think you could ever rule out that girl, man. She's 100% full gas. Like, she has experience. She knows how to win races. I think she probably has the most wins out of any female or even male in her whole career. So, like, she's another one that I would never count out. It's just going to be an amazing.
For sure. You got it.
All right, Anthony. Well, man, you're looking good so far. It looks like your season's been really kind of coming together. You had a lot of stuff in Japan you were doing, and do you think that's been good prep coming in here as far as similar? You were saying like the some of their courses tend to be harder. This looks like it's a pretty hard course. How do you think it's a bonus for you? Maybe a little secret weapon?
I don't know, man. You know, sometimes in pre-ride I really love the course, and then I don't go below the course, and then I race it really good. So it's one of those things that I don't really know until we line up the race. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's you know, and obviously everybody's been, as it should be, everybody's been really coming on form. I mean, Gage has been coming up, and Power's pulling off a win this last week. I think it's a nice shot across the bow for everybody. And you've been coming up, so it seems like everybody's results, everybody's been getting like really dialed in. And it's gonna, I think you guys got a real showdown on your hands today. What do you think?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty heated. I'd say after the first half lap, everyone's pretty solo, but you're gonna see a lot of guys really trying to pull and be aggressive. You know, like everybody on the has a chance to win, even on the second row. Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's so talented in the USA. It's really hard to pick who's gonna.
Yeah, I'm hearing that the course is getting a little tacky, getting a little course intel rolling, and it's tacking up, it's drying a little bit. You guys got 2 pits, and how is that playing into where do you think you're going to be pitting more or less? Second one's an uphill run into the pit, a little slower. Is that, or can you hold out that long if it's tacky?
I think if it's tacky, you're going to end up pitting every half lap, and it would help to have 3 bikes in the pit, because all this, like when it gets peanut buttery, it's just the bikes just get so heavy and slow that you're going to have to literally pit like at least as much as you can. Otherwise, because a broken bike is not a fast bike.
Absolutely.
You know what I
So what I was talking to one of the Peaks coaching group coaches yesterday. He was out he did the master race Friday. He said it was real soupy, and I was asking him how the drainage was. He said it was pretty good until it was getting rutted up. So it got rutted, and now it's drying a little bit. So that's this morning's combined intel. So as you're taking your laps, I think be plotting that out with those pitting areas could be a crucial factor. I think when you guys are having to dodge in there and out, and when that's going to happen, and who's going to be throwing the attacks during that time. And what about the run up and the first run up over the flyover for you guys? It's pretty close to the start. You got a game plan for where you kind of want to feel that out, where you want to be coming into that?
I don't know. I don't really make a game plan. I pretty much, on the start line, clear my head, and I tell myself it's time to be present, because I'm not always in the present a lot, because I so I literally get present, and then I try to have the course memorized, and then I just ride the race depending on what happens. Because if you make a game plan, and then something happens, it's hard for you to instantly change. So I just try to be super present at the moment of the race. So whether I know what or where I have to be or what I have to do.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of using that. You're getting to be one of the cagey veterans out there, and you're going to adapt to where the punches are thrown, and I think that makes you an even bigger threat. I mean, Jay Powell the same way. You guys got a lot of history behind you guys and can adapt to those things, and I think today may be one of those days to really pull that out. So we're excited to see you race today, and so I don't want to keep you too long. Let you get to chilling and just being able to get your headspace right here. So.
Yeah, gonna change it up and head to the course in probably about 20 minutes.
All right.
All right, man. Hey, good luck, bro. We got a few people here starting to move in, a few you know, so they're going to give you a little good luck before you go. Hey, guys, give it up for Ant, man. All right. Love you, bro. We'll be rooting for you, man.
Appreciate it, cuz.
All right, later, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bro. Later, Coach Jack.
Are we on, Dan? We on? Okay. All right. So Anthony's always a ton of fun. I love the mindset that it's just, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to react, I'm going to do what I got to do. I don't get too worked up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's again, I think that's really plays into somebody that's a veteran like Anthony. Jay Powell, same thing. I mean, right? Those guys are coming from a lot of history, and it's not to say anything negative in regards to Gage as being a younger rider. But I think when you can adapt on the fly like that, that's a huge bonus. As the course is changing, and I think it's changing as we speak, as it's starting to dry a little bit and get that tackiness, and how do you make those alterations on the fly under stress?
Right, yeah, for sure. And Powers made that point. We're going to check that interview out a little bit later in the morning. But Powers made that point last night. He said, there's only 2 guys in this field that have ever won that big race, ever won it at the elite level between him and Hyde. And he said it's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage to be able to have been in that role before and go out and execute at that level when it really matters. And with Gage being a big favorite coming in, being 20, that might play a role into to that. And even for some of these guys that are a little bit older that haven't won one yet, Clark, Carey, Curtis, all those guys.
Yeah, and I think when you look at you start looking at the race wins and where everybody, I mean, like we talked about with Anthony. I mean, everybody's been coming up. So I think you're looking at everybody. Nationals is important, right? And everybody's coming on form. Injuries have been put behind, so everybody's had an obstacle, I think, to overcome this year. I mean, Carey maybe one of the few that hasn't had as many. Or maybe any this year that I can recall as far as setbacks. I mean, he's just been steadily. He's always been in the hunt. He's always been at the sharp end. Even if it's not a win, he's there.
Right.
He's knocking on the door.
Well,
right?
really,
So,
but with Powers and Hyde being out a lot of the year, it was looking like Carey and White. Those were the 2 I thought coming in before they kind of bounced back. Was if these guys aren't a factor, or if they're not going to make the race, those will be the 2 guys that you're really going to see. And they had a lot of really close battles this year. So I don't know how that affects them mentally, knowing they got to go up against those 2 guys. But they're huge factors in this. And I think the muddier the course, personally, the better off it is for Anthony. I really think that he gets even more in the mix there. I think he runs a little bit better. He's a little smaller, a little lighter, can run a little lower tire pressure. So I think as a outside podium guy, I think you can look for him to really be in the mix.
well, sure, and I think it's going to really. I mean, we have reports of about a 70-30 run. Now it may be a 50-50. Is that running? The running game could really almost feel like football here, right? But the running game could be a real big factor here today. Outside of a wet course, I mean, you kind of look at all the predictors and the course wins and those types of things, and you kind of start saying, okay, well, wetter course favors a guy like Gage Hecht or Kerry Warner. This is their strength. But those aren't necessarily a lot of running involved either, and so that kind of thing tries to throw perhaps a little bit of a wild card in there. So you can start to say something like, Anthony's been riding some of these different types of courses in Japan, where they've been technically more demanding, and maybe he doesn't want to tip his hand too much. Maybe they've had a fair amount of running in those. So I think that's where we really want to keep that as a possible. Is looking at how much running is involved. But I think, just as far as, you look at how the season's been going and what things favor, they've more the flat open, real fast stuff, I think suits somebody like Powers. I think today is going to be a tough day for him, but he's got to win this past week in his pocket too. And I think there's nothing plays a game like having the momentum and having a win behind you to give you that confidence, and maybe that's just what he needs. And he's got the experience; he's done it before. So if he can get a spot early where he needs to be, and maybe that's all he needs.
Right. Yeah, I think that running game for him is going to be tough. He said, and we'll see in his interview a little bit later too. He said, he's got big calves. So he said that doesn't make him a good runner. But I think it's always been true of him in his career, where he's ridden hard stuff that can still be ridden. and that's sort of where he's excelled. He made that point as well, but if you look at him throughout, he's always been able to ride places where other people aren't riding. So as long as it's hard to ride but rideable, he's super dangerous. But if it's not rideable and you got to run, I think that hurts him in that equation today, where you're going to see maybe a little younger riders and riders who are running a little bit better going to be a little harder for him to beat in that regard.
Right, and somebody we obviously a star we haven't have been mentioning a lot is Stephen Hyde, and Hyde's just, I mean, he had an injury, he had a significant injury. It took him out for several weeks, but I think he's proven his ability to come back. He's been back. He came back first race and won, right? I mean, I think that's nothing speaks clearer than results, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can talk about all the
Stephen
training,
Hyde, right? He's a two-time
Right.
national champion,
Right.
He's young, so coming back from the injuries, it's not like he's coming back from an injury at 40 or even over 35. He's still a young rider, so to bounce back, for his body to bounce back from injury is a little different than maybe a little older rider who bounces back a little bit slower. And yeah, you saw him 2 weeks ago. He won. He beat everybody he had to beat other than Gage in that race, which I thought was an interesting psychological sort of edge potentially for Gage. If Hyde goes into that race 2 weeks ago and he wins, he comes out, he beats Carey, he beats Curtis, he beats Powers, and he's thinking, those would be the three guys I pretty much got to beat at Nationals, not knowing Gage Heck was going to come out of the U23.
Sure.
So he has to be on a high there, and then 2 days later or so, Gage Heck says, yeah, I'm in, throwing my head in. So I'm wondering, you think Gage Heck is playing mind games there? You think he held it off and was kind of waiting late to mess with him, or you think it was just sort of the way things went?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Gage is just he presents as a very confident person. I don't think he needs to really try to get in anybody's head. I think he's out there. He's strong, and I think he knows he's strong. And I think he's looking for the challenge. I think he's looking for, I'm going for the elite. I'm going for it. I'm on here, and what better challenge than go against somebody like Hyde, go somebody like a proven entity like Powers. I mean, this is a great year where there's a lot of guys going really. Kerry Warner. I mean, you got this pretty tight pack of 5 or 6 guys. What better year to put your hat in the ring? I mean, you want to go for a national. You want to go and make it mean something. I mean, I can look back on any time races I did. It was always more meaningful when it's against guys that are good, right? You got a good quality field. You come out of it feeling like, man, this means something, right?
Yeah,
and everybody's throwing it down.
It's definitely the most exciting field. We know, I don't think there's anybody going, no, somebody's going to run away with it. We see that a lot in cross. We've seen that for years with Hyde and Powers before that. We see that at the international level, where it's just like, yeah, one rider's just riding above his time, out of his mind, and it's just like we kind of know who's going to win before the race starts. I think today is one of the more exciting ones. I think it'd be a little more even exciting if the course was maybe a little faster, where you would have a dynamic where racers might stay together and you might get attacks that get brought back and those kind of things. But the crashing end of things and people making mistakes may create that a little differently than a fast course would create.
Right.
That.
You also may get some mechanical issues there. If that course is tacking up like it's being talked about, it's going to be a big one. You're going to be, like Anthony was saying, he may be double pitting, whereas before you may be passing up that first time by the pit. Second one is an uphill run. It's a little more conducive to being able to pull over. But if it's slow and it's tacking up, last thing you want to do is snap off a derailleur halfway around the course away from the pit and have to do a lot of running, because that's going to be a big game changer. Or your bike is just loaded up. It's heavy. It's getting slow. These could be things that really play into it. So I think the pits are going to be busy today. I think that's going to be a change that they're going to have to take into effect. And hopefully, you kind of like to not see it be a mechanical issue that affects somebody, but it very well could be. And it could be even a decision of, hey, I don't want to pit right now, and I don't, and then something happens with my bike because of the mud getting thick. So I think this is going to be it's an exciting race from a course standpoint, given the conditions. It's an exciting race given who's in there. When it's slow and heavy, this is known to be a slow and heavy course to begin with, not a fast course. And now you've added some other elements to even make it harder. Hyde's got the fitness, man. He's proven that. And he's proven it when it's just hard and he can just twist that throttle for a long time, he can do it. And so, while it may not be his strongest point to race in the wet, this is a different kind of wet too.
So. I think he's definitely the guy to beat. I mean, you can't count him out. I think some people are excited about Gage and the idea of having a young guy come in and take it, but Hyde's the favorite. You cannot give him anything else other than that. He's earned it. He's the two-time champ, and and he looks right on form. So I don't think there's any doubt he's a favorite going in.
And White, I mean, we mentioned him here and there, but he's sitting in the background, maybe not getting the push, but I don't think you want to forget about a guy like that. He's smart, he's crafty, he's a good road rider. He knows how to race his bike, and he's got a lot of cross experience too. He's young, but he's coming into this with some water behind the dam with experience, and I think he could be one of those guys. He has a good day, and he doesn't have a problem out there, and next thing you know, he's able to capitalize, and maybe he's even capitalizing on a Gage Hyde kind of duel, or something's going on, or Carey's in there, and they're kind of watching each other and kind of looking, and he sneaks in there with something, and they're not able to respond in time. And so I think there's just some factors in there today that are making this a little bit more wide open than perhaps the drier course.
Between the competition in the course and the injuries, you're touching on two things there. One is you got guys who have won races a lot more this year than they have in the past because those bigger guys have been out a little bit. Anthony's won more. He's been overseas in winning races. Carey and Curtis have both won more. So learning how to win, even though they haven't done it at the national championship level yet, has been, I think, a real big growth for them, and that makes them a lot more dangerous than if they were just getting, fighting for those podium spots each week where Hyde's dominating or Powers is dominating like we've seen in the past. So those factors are gigantic for sure. But then you also have these guys who all have to worry about each other, right? You could, what if you overlook Jeremy Powers? I mean, is that possible that you overlook Jeremy Powers?
That'd be a tough one, right?
But Hyde and Curtis and Gage, all these guys are worrying about each other, and there you got, the greatest of all time kind of sitting quietly going, I know how to win here, and I know what has to be done.
Sometimes it's just patience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just being patient and not just shooting your guns too soon, too hard, and just Hyde's a patient rider. He's not the youngest guy out there, not the oldest guy out there. He's patient. He's learned, and I think we see his patience in the starts. How that plays out today, you see he's not generally worried about the whole shot. And I don't know if you have to worry about it today, but there are some differences in the courses from the amateur races. There's going to be this little drop into a ditch that's fairly early, and it may not even be rideable, and that's before you can get to the sand pit. So that may be a shake-up right there as you're kind of focusing on the sand pit and then the flyover. Well, there's a couple of really technical spaces in there that not having the whole shot might be a factor of. Now you're a little too far back, and now he's got to really fight for it. But at the same time, he's got a little time to get there, so maybe not getting the whole shot, but maybe being just enough to the pointy end of things, and then being able to work his way along, just keep that throttle twisted through those things. Could be a good opportunity for somebody that's a little more patient. Maybe doesn't grab the whole shot, but doesn't really need it on this course either. So
right. Let's talk a little about the women.
Absolutely.
We've got a real exciting race there. I think sort of your top three is where the race is at, and then you got a couple women that are going to be vying on the outside of that. Assuming the top three, don't have major mechanicals or a real bad day. I think they're clear to more or less. But how that order goes, I don't think is clear at all. So
right.
What are you thinking going in with those ladies?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to look to those three. I think, and you can look and say, Ellen Noble is, she's by far a favorite, but so is Compton, especially Compton coming back, not being sick, being full health, seems to be on her game right now. So it's been a big claw back for her, and I think but. She knows what she's doing out there, and she's had margin in the past, and she knows how to win when she's not even 100%. So if she's close to 100%, it makes her heavily favored, right? I mean, and it's a hard day, and she's been doing hard races. When we talked to her the other night,
right.
And she's been doing those hard races in Europe where they had really hard courses. I think this is going to be a little bit like that today, where it's just going to be very demanding, very technical on points. Mounts, dismounts are going to be key. Keeping equipment good. So she's been doing those things. We saw a race last week at Broken Arrow. It was dry, flat, fast. Much different race. So you saw somebody like Katie Keogh do well there. I think she may have even, did she win that one in Broken Arrow last week? I think
but I don't believe Ellen was there. I think that dry, flatter, faster course really favors Ellen a little bit more. I think she rides a lot like Powers, which makes sense. So, he was her mentor, and kind of, she came up under him in that way, where she rides really technical stuff really well when it's rideable.
Right.
But when we're looking at these really muddy courses, I think Ellen's going to be in for a bit of a challenge today between Compton's experience, and I think Keough is really dangerous in the mud. She's light. She can run really low tire pressure. Powers pointed that out in our interview last night. I think that mud factor may put Ellen looking at fighting really hard to get away at all. And I think Compton again has to be the favorite, even at 40 and even with 14 years of dominance.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be that experience again. It's going to, when you pit and as the conditions change, she's going to be on the fly. She's been doing it this season. She's got a lot of seasons behind her. Caitlin's she's strong when it's wet out. Again, changing conditions, but I think Ellen's been strong. It's not her strong suit to be when it's wet, so that could change it. But you're going to have some other people nipping her heels. Arlie Kemmerer is always. She's always at the edge. So she could be somebody to watch. She's a fighter, and she'll get in there, and she's going to be looking for an opportunity. If she sees that door cracked open, she's going to go for it. I think she could surprise with a podium. Farringer's another one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Farringer's a very, very clear top 5, and it's very tough. And if one of those top 3 make a mistake, I think she's going to be right in there. And Crystal Anthony's really tough, and is going to be right in that top 5 hunt. And could also capitalize on somebody having a bad day. Katie Compton told us the other night, she said, I used to be able to win on a bad day. And she says, I can't do that anymore. The competition's too good, which is exciting. And I think that's going to be true for everybody. Nobody's winning on a bad day today.
No, that's for sure. And I think, but if anybody can pull off a marginal day, it would be Katie. But I don't think she's in a space where she's feeling marginal. So I think it's everybody's. It's going to be all eyes on her. I think a lot of people are going to be keying off her, and why wouldn't you? I mean, you'd be foolish not to. You'd be foolish to discount her. She's gotten results recently in Europe. She's coming off of she was on the World Championship podium last year.
She was second in the world last year.
So I mean, you'd be foolish to just say I'm not going to worry about what Katie Compton's doing. But at the same time, you got some people that there could be some real battles out there, and people are going to be looking for that door to open a little bit and looking for maybe a little disruption. Maybe they say, hey, maybe it was great you were silver in the Worlds, but I see an opening taken, and I think Ellen's prepared to do that. I think Farringer's prepared to do that.
For sure.
I think Katie's prepared to do this. So you got 3 people at least right there knocking on her door, and then you've got some people knocking on the podium as well. I think people like Farringer is going to be there, and somebody like Arlie Kemmerer. She's a good fighter in there, and she's going to be looking. So they bobble something. There's not going to be a big
lot
gap.
of bobbling in that mud.
It could be.
But,
So.
that composure is going to be a big thing too. And what do you think? We talked with Compton about this the other night. I asked her, is the pressure on her? She's won 14 in a row. Like, at some point, isn't it like, well, if you finally beat me, whatever. Like, I've won 14 in a row. Isn't the pressure kind of on these younger ladies to go, hey, time for you to step up and be the new queen? Or is it still on her to keep that running? Like, is there a point where it really shifts and it's really on Ellen and Keough and the rest of the field to take this from her, who's been so dominant for so long?
I think it's going to be, I don't think Katie's going to give up anything. She's a competitor, man. It doesn't matter how many times you win something. And you can always give verbal assent and things of like, you're looking for the next generation to come up and show themselves. But at the same time, you're not going to hand it to them.
Right.
And when you're out there competing and you're racing your bike, you're not giving anything away. It doesn't matter how many times you won it. You're out there to race to win. And I think it's going to be really on them to take it. If they take it, they're going to take it honestly. It's not going to be because she's going to become dispirited or feel like she has to back down. They're going to win it on their own. I don't think she's going to give up anything. She's proven that she's out there working hard in Europe. She's doing what she has to do. So I think it's on them. I think they'll want it, and I think they want to take it from her as much as she wants to keep it, and that'll make it an honest win for whoever gets it. So, but we got some interesting ones coming up here too, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things too about both these races here is this sort of generational shift that we're potentially seeing, which I think is exciting just across sports. I'm a I was a big baseball fan growing up, and
Sure.
I'm a pretty big UFC fan. You know, I like looking at different eras of sports, and sports with big histories and sports with small histories. And cyclocross is one with sort of a small history, and you're seeing some major sort of generational things that if we continue to see the sport grow, we're going to look back at this time and maybe this race and say this is the end of the Compton era and the beginning of the Noble era, or the beginning of the Keogh era, or it's where Compton continues to maintain that dominance of that era, and it's not the end of that era. And I think we say the same thing on the men's side as we see some of these coming up.
Well, what's interesting when you talk about eras, though, is what if it's nobody's era? Because it's tight. It's getting tighter. Like I was discussing this with somebody the other day, how good the women's side of both road and cyclocross has gotten over the last 5 to 10 years, and really changed. And you see the fields tightening up. You see it in a lot of disciplines. You see it at the track. You see it on cyclocross, where you see the competition where there's a lot more people in this. So you don't have a dominance as much as you have in the past. And I think you see it like with this nationals, both men's side and women's side. And it may not be an era of any one person. This may be an era of several people, and generationally just saying, yeah, there's going to be 4 or 5. And I think you even see it, and you see some of the locals from Rochester. You start looking at some of the kids, how they're doing out there on a national scene. And you've got the Park Ave crew, which is, they've been putting a lot into cross, a lot of good youth programs. But you've got AJ August in 5th place in boys 13-14. You've got Grace Matter in 4th place in girls 15 and 16. Out of campus in Buffalo, women's 40-44, Bonnie Signs is as a master's rider. But I'm just looking at the kids that are out here, and you look at and we're going to talk to him a little bit later. You got Magnus Sheffield. I mean, on a world scene, and this kid's on fire, right? Yeah. And he's got the stuff. You almost might want to say there might be a Magnus Sheffield a dominance era coming up, or an era, right? Because he's ahead. But you look at how well, I mean, 5th place for Craig Mattern in Masters. Those are the Masters, but the kids getting in there at an early age and having fun with the sport and moving up, I think says, we got some good local scene, and you may see just generationally less of a dominance by one person and really.
And that's really the heyday we'd like to see, right? Is where it's more dynamic racing, and you are seeing that less of a dominance. But then you also have to go back to Powers and Compton in the way that they helped build that. It would be, if that comes true, and then there's, it's different every year, so to speak, right? It's really coming off of their dominance and what they did to develop the sport in a lot of different ways, both kind of congruently and separately.
Sure. I mean, they're definitely leaders in that space, no doubt about it. And we've seen a few people like, you even have guys at Driscoll still in there, and he's been in the cross scene for a long time and been a dominant force. But it's good to see multiple younger generational riders coming in there, filling those spots, but not just one. It's healthy for the sport. It builds it. It's when it's going to build the excitement. It's going to build racing, build people to want to want to view it, want to be part of it. Pure dominance is tough because people kind of feel defeated before they get there, and it's hard to unseat that. But when it's anybody's game, or it's anybody one of 5 games, interesting stuff, great for the sport, great for the growth.
Definitely makes it better from his fan perspective.
Absolutely.
We went out to Gloucester. Jake and I went out to Gloucester this year, and Powers was coming off of being sick, and Hyde was injured, and he wasn't there. And it was really exciting. It was a bummer that those guys weren't there, but at the same time, it was super exciting to see the way that the race unfolded, because you guys hitting attacks and then reeling them back and countering. A lot of the things that you and I love about road racing and crit racing that sometimes doesn't come through as much in cross. When that happens in cross, then it's so exciting to watch, because it's not just, he's gone, and now for the next 5 laps he's going to ride away and the race
I think
is over,
that ties in a little bit with Katie said about perhaps shortening the races up a little bit too, and keeping them more exciting. All that plays into it. We do have a little bit of course preview as well, and I think we're going to queue up here and be able to have everybody get a little. Basically from the bike, I think it's a little ride around the course and see what that looks like. That was from Crosshairs, had put that up. They're fantastic. Visit their site. They got a lot of great information to view, and just a lot of current information. They do a fantastic job. So
Yeah, Bill does a great job with podcasts, with video. He's got races up. He's got podcasts on his website. You can follow him on YouTube. He does these great course previews. So we're going to take a look at that right now, and you guys can check out the course previews for this and see. And as we get into some of these later interviews, you'll be able to hear them talk about those courses a little bit, 2 Powers in particular. So here you go. Check out the clip from Crosshairs.
Hello, cyclocross friends. Here we are at the start of the Louisville track at our Cyclocross National Championship. I am here with Scott Herman, and we're going to do a quick track walk of the championship course. Scott, what are we looking at here down the starting stretch?
Yeah, right from the start, a little bit of a downhill stretch into this grassy area. Thick, heavy grass, but the course designers have taped this section very wide, so all the passing lanes to get started. No stress there if you're 4th or 5th row.
Yeah, this is the shakeout section, so if you got a call up you're not happy with and you want to move up, there's definitely room to do that. But as we come through this next turn here, we're getting to the section, one of our shaded sections. This is getting muddy. It's getting beat up. This was from a couple days ago, and by the weekend, we're going to see a lot more mud, a lot more moisture on the course than we have right now. As we make these couple more turns, we're getting to our first real technical section.
Yeah, this is where the race, everybody's trying to get to this section first. This nasty little downhill. It's steeper than it looks on the video just a little bit. You'll cross that little gravel area, and then you go right into the keyhole section, Bill. This is where it's going to get argy-bargy on lap number 1.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many ruts in here, and everything's moving around. It's really slick. It can be frozen at times because it's in the shade, so you can see that slipping that's happening coming up there. And then we're looking at the UCI sections as well. Little ditch that they go down and come back onto the asphalt. And then we really have our marquee feature of this course that has been built from scratch.
Yeah, you go right into the sand pit. Definitely rideable. You'll see the lines in there. They are tilling that up each night, so it will change from day to day, but it is deep sand, is rideable for most of the riders.
And once you go through this small team tent section, we're coming to the flyover on the course. This is a big flyover. It's not rideable the whole way. We got steps going up, and then you ride back down, but it's a monster one, and into a quick right-hand turn right when you get down from it, which has caused some issues with our Pan Am on the same course that we had here last year.
Yeah, it's muddy in that corner. As you can see, most of this shaded, so it's not going to dry out, and as we see some rain Thursday, Friday into Saturday, going to cause some problems. As you get around this section of the course, this is the no-break section. You are downhill for the next 10-15 seconds. You let it fly here.
Yeah, this is a big, long descent, and one thing about big, long descents is that you know you're going to have to make it up on the other end. So this is a climber's course. This is the part that's not so bad, even though you have to keep on the gas, and as Scott said, no brakes. We're going to be climbing later. But right now we are getting back up onto the elevation, and we're working up to this asphalt road and then this tricky off-camber.
Yeah, this corner coming up here on the left is going to be the one that most people didn't pay enough attention to in pre-ride, because right here is where a lot of accidents have happened. You've got to be on the gas. It's a muddy uphill climb. You'll get into this UCI off-camber section, and here's the real danger point, Bill. Off camber, you got to pick high line, low line, but I'll tell you can only ride the low line right up into that spot that you just walked up through. Fully gassed, and then it gets even worse. You got to take a left-hand turn right into the limestone steps.
Yeah, these are the limestone steps. As we saw last year when they were racing here, they are rideable, but I don't know if it's advantage. We're going to have most of our riders are going to dismount, and then we come into this modified downhill shoot, plunge, drop area. There's this big, long off-camber that's put in there that's really reducing a lot of the speed, but that doesn't mean that it's still not tricky and fast once we make this right turn into this plunge.
There's the ramp. Look at that. It's a big drop-off, steep, muddy, all the way to the bottom. That one's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. As you come down to that downhill and you get to this section, though, slightly uphill, deep grass as you can see on the video, but what is looming in front of you is a double set of climbs. Steep climbs, thick grass climbs, not easy for anybody to do.
This is really where the race is made. We've gone through all the technical stuff, all the fun stuff, but if you're a climber, the fun is only starting to begin, because this, I think, is where we're going to see some attacks, because there are these big power climbs. This is the first one up to our left-hand street area, and then dropping a little respite up onto this asphalt, and then dropping back down and setting up for even more climbing.
Yeah, and as we see these UCI cut-throughs, the sections that the amateurs get to ride on a little bit and get a little bit of a break. Not for the UCI Elite riders. They will plunge back down here one more time, and this is the big setup. I'll call this the sprint before the sprint before the sprint, because uphill right here, this is where the legs really start to hurt.
This is where the race is going to be made. This is where you are going to be able to see separation in those that can handle these conditions. It comes at the end of the lap. Think about it at the end of the race. This is where you want to put in that attack. As we come down pit 2, we're going to take a look inside the pits, and then we're setting up for our finish.
Yeah, coming through pit 2, like you said, any recovery you can get right here is the spot to get it, because we're going to see 2 right turns, and this is a section that you've coined the sprint before the sprint, and you're 100% right. Look at how long and straight this one is.
Yeah, this is it. You want to be ahead here. Now, this is where the move's going to be made. There's not enough real estate at the end of this race really to come around. It could happen, but I don't see it happening. And the tricky part is right around this right-hand turn. We have our set of planks. They are rideable, and this is going to be where that skill is necessary, because if you stay on your bike and you're able to accelerate, then boom, we are right here on the finishing stretch, and we're coming home.
Yeah, any mud on your tires and a left-hand turn right before that could cause problems on Sunday.
And there it is. That is one lap of our national championship course in Louisville.
At this point,
All right, very cool. Have they changed it at all? I talked to Jeremy last night, and he said that they may reroute it a little bit to try to cut the running down. Has there been any course changes? Oh, gotcha. How about going in to? How about going into the race today with Gage entering late? How does that affect your race and the dynamic there, Kerry? What about for you, Rebecca? Well, how does it look for your competition going in? Is it daunting lining up with Compton and that 14 years, or is it like are you hungry and you're not worried about that?
No, I mean, I kind of think she's had it for so long. We haven't been here maybe yet, but there's always a hope that somebody else wins, but there's always kind of a hope that she also wins.
Lost by a mechanic. That's interesting. Very interesting. Well, that's cool. So, Kerry, how about the team dynamic with White and Hyde? Does that play a factor? Are they going to work off of each other? Does that make them more dangerous, or are they kind of on their own, you think? With all the injuries that have happened up through the season, you and Curtis have had some really good battles. Hyde hasn't been in there as much, and Powers. Now with it, they're back in the mix off of injury. Does that change things for you? Do you feel like you have an edge coming in because they've been injured? What about for you, Rebecca? How do you think the conditions fare for your field? Do they favor one rider over another? Does that factor in?
I think, with it being heavy and climby, Compton and Keogh are both still top contenders. Noble definitely excels on really fast courses. Who knows about the heavier conditions? I don't know. Fitness is going to play a huge factor, but so is mental strength, and hopefully I have both of those things. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to go pre-ride, though. Or warm up now.
All right. Well, thank you. Good luck. Anything for Kerry? All right.
Is that better?
All right. Still there, Kerry? Yeah. Will you give us a prediction on the women's field? What do you think's going to happen there? Interesting.
All right. Well, hey, we'll let you guys get it rocking, and I think you guys got a lot of technical things and to think about today, and hopefully you'll pick up some tips from the women's race before going in. Any last minute changes? I'm sure your pit crew is going to be on it and got those changes for you. Do you foresee any maybe early pit visits from you for those changes, or do you think you're going to be pretty dialed in your space away from the gun?
I think I'll pit on lap 1 for sure, but it won't be until the second pit. But I mean, we're talking about right now taking a bike in the air at pit 2, because I feel like as soon as you put the bike on the ground, it's going to be heavy. And I don't know, I haven't been out on course yet, but from the looks of Rebecca's bike after she did a lap, it looks like it looks super heavy. And so as soon as you put the bike on the ground, it's going to get heavy, and it seems like advantageous to have a light bike at least for part of it.
Sure, yeah. So it's definitely been a changing scene out there. So, but you definitely got the experience. You're one of the guys we've been talking about. You got a lot of water behind the dam to make those adaptations on the fly. So, I think you're definitely a favorite here, and I think wish you the best out there with those KG on the fly things. I think powers are going to be the same way. I think you guys, but you're a good in the wet rider, and this could really be your day here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, man. Hey, we're gonna have we got a little bar party started here. People are still rolling in, but everybody's gonna wish you good luck here. Hey, say hi to Karen. Wish you luck, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, dude. Thank you. We only got one more, I think. So. We back on? Are we back on? We'll introduce the Powers clip then? Talk. What's that? You don't have it ready? All right.
Is that one okay? You need that one?
This one's still working? Okay. All right. All right. So great to hear from Kerry. He surprisingly didn't seem too keen on the mud and the running conditions. I guess he's more concerned with the mud as far as running than actually riding through the mud.
Yeah, well, I think it's as it's tacking up, and we've gotten several course updates. Behan Smack, who's there doing some photo work, messaged me earlier. Says really getting sticky. I think it's a lot different situation than it was on Friday. I talked to Dave Sellers from Peaks Coaching Group, and he rode the Masters race. Said it was real slippery and real wet, but he said some parts of the course drained really well. Of course, now you've had several races going through there, so even a well-draining course is going to drain a lot less well, as you've got ruts in it. And if it's not raining now and it's drying, now you've got kind of some pasty peanut butter out there. You've got it's rutted up. It's going to be a changing scene, and I think everybody's starting to look at it as bike changes are going to be critical. Pit crew is going to be critical. When you change, and I think Kerry had some good insights there too, as far as when he's going to need to be changing, and the idea of carrying a heavy bike on a run. You come into that second pit, it's already on a slow, potentially running section,
Right.
Given the conditions. And getting a bike change there is going to be. I think you're seeing a lot of guys in the pits there. Because you don't want to pit when it's fast, because you're giving away time. But you're going to be giving away anything if you're hauling a heavy bike and you're running. I think it's going to be a busy time in there. Could actually get a little congested in there, perhaps, as well, as everybody's trying to get to their pit crew.
Right.
You could see
could see some change-ups just in how fast they're able to get that bike, get out of there, get out of traffic, and the amount of traffic that could be in that pit.
Yeah, well, and Rebecca had a really nice insight there. She said, I don't think it's going to be won by anybody. It's going to be lost by a mechanical. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic on how that's going to play out for sure. We'll see how that works. You could see a little frustration in both of them, I think. I think they were both, maybe national championships and you got a little nerves anyway, but I think the course probably has everybody a little flustered today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be it's going to be a factor.
Yeah.
It may be more of a factor, just given at least they don't have a flooding issue.
Right.
That's been present in Louisville in the past, right? They moved that location. They have a better one. This is a course that several of these elite riders have ridden in. Pan Ams were there in 2017, but it's a little bit different configuration. But they've been at the venue, so they know kind of how it rides. It was a heavy course without these changing conditions.
Right.
But I think, when everybody's kind of looking at it saying it's going to be really critical that we don't have a mechanical, and that's going to be really paying attention to your equipment, and some luck.
Yeah, some luck. And it goes back to those guys who've won before, who've been in the bad situations before, and the composure and how they're going to exhibit those things when they race. It definitely favors that as opposed to maybe a faster course where you're less likely to run into problems and have to work through that.
All right. And one of the things that could be really interesting, we have a juniors race today, right? I mean, Magnus is racing probably right around this time.
We actually have some results. We just got some results on
excellent.
there.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
It looks like juniors 17 to 18 that Magnus was third. So Magnus Sheffield taking third in the 17 to 18.
All right.
So we'll hear from him in a little bit here. I think we're scheduled for him in between the elite races. So we'll end our broadcast before the women's elite, and then we will pop back in for an interview with Magnus and maybe some post-race chat there before we head into the men's elite. So we look forward to hearing from Magnus on that.
So that could be an interesting thing. Is I think as a favorite going in, Magnus was definitely there. Definitely, I mean, he's still solidly podium, third place, excellent result.
Sure.
But to see where the course conditions played in, we weren't able to view his race. Was he having mechanical issues? Was playing into that, or is it just, hey, there was, again, is it it's a strong field, right? And so
he's up in age group too.
Yep.
I thought he was still 16.
We'll have to check.
See if
he was
as those
racing
results
up or
came
not.
in, but I wonder if he was racing up. But we'll have to check with him on that as well.
But it certainly speaks well that again, to a strong field, not a runaway, as far as even a dominance from somebody that's arguably a dominating figure already as a junior rider, and a lot of experience, and he's been doing a lot of big cross racing in Europe as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that course played into his results, and I think you're going to see. You'll see guys like Harry watching closely on the women's race to see in those pictures, and some of those teams are going to be passing that information down as to what's going to need to happen, and they're going to need to be adaptable and be listening to the pictures calling them in as well, or the other way around. Pictures listening and saying, I'm coming in, man.
Well, how good your pit crew might make a difference in this race too.
Yeah.
How good is your support?
So,
okay.
I think.
All right, so we're going to go to a little quick promo here, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about what we're doing here at Hook and Spoon in Lakeville, New York, and the party that's starting to build around us. You can hear some of the background noise. But before that, check out this from, I think it's a Dirty Bikes clip, so check it out. It's only like 30 seconds.
Want to talk about sponsors then?
Yeah, we'll hit this.
What you're doing? Talk about what you're doing.
I'd like to get some video of
Do we
it.
have any more? Is he going to queue up the powers? Or not?
He is, but he's still getting it ready, I guess. It's all right, we got an hour to So we're going to talk a little bit. We got some great sponsors here today in what we're putting on, but we kind of jumped right into the interviews and the analysis this morning, so we didn't even really get into sort of where we're at and what we're doing. But yeah, we've got a little bar party going on here. We're just getting the folks kind of in the door and hanging out. But we want to thank once again Nut Butter, Legacy Bikes, and my man Todd here. Christmas is coming, so you need to get your kid's bike. I already got my kid one. Really excited to open that up with her on Christmas. We went with the Strider with the rocker. I hadn't seen that until I messaged you.
All right.
That was pretty cool though. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mean, Strider's got an interesting little thing. I mean, how old is your?
She's just over a year and a half.
Okay, so she's right at that cusp of looking to sit on some. And it gives us a little rocker option, and so she's kind of sitting on the bike, but it's kind of being on a rocking horse kind of an idea, right? So really kind of a nice little intro. We also have some other interesting bikes if you were on the website looking around, and we have a little basically a little three-wheel one for kids about her age as well. They can kind of push around the house on. Really cool. So check those out. We really try to carry some top of the line bikes. And really kind of extol some of those features. Real tires, working handbrake, and some of these bikes are they're really dialed. So I know a lot of you bike racers out there are looking. You want aluminum frame? We got aluminum frames. We got nice stuff. It's super light. These kids can push these things quick. Really learn. So check out our store at Legacy Bikes. That's LEGACI. Bikes.com. And need a quick delivery. We're usually a week for delivery. So order this weekend, get it by Christmas, or get it for spring. But yeah, they can even ride around the house on it. So yeah,
they're cool, and it just seems to make so much sense that you train them without the pedals and without the training wheels and letting them coast. But that's really not ever been the case. This is a fairly new concept, but since it's kind of taken hold, it's kind of just blown everything out of the water. That's just how it works now, right?
Right. Yeah, it is. It kind of breaks the old paradigm. Many of us came from the training wheels tricycle thing, but you don't learn how to ride a bike that way. And even the smallest kids, really 18 months, they start riding bikes, and they get that momentum going. And once you get the momentum going, they learn the skills. They're not trying to unlearn things from training wheels, tricycles, all these things, and they have fun. And they want to ride their bikes. So kids get these things, they want to ride because they can ride.
Right.
They're not captured by a tricycle. It's hard to pedal. I think we all find a tough time pedaling it, doing anything with it. It's not a lot of fun to ride. These are fun, and they get all the skills right up front. So we believe in carrying the kind of the top of the line stuff. We have some more price sensitive models. So really anything kind of fit your needs, but big thing is get them riding and get them learning skills early. So we're excited about it. We're moving some nice bikes. Brought a couple here today. Maybe we'll have some adult races around the place on them a little. People can try them out. But really, if you think your kid's maybe not ready for a bike, they're ready for a bike. They're 18 months, 15 months. They're ready for something. Check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to Legacy Bikes, we've got a lot of great prizes here today for everybody that's showing up. We've got a ton of stuff from, once again, Nut Butter. We've got Amp Human Performance stuff, Wolf 2 Components, Full Moon Vista Bike Shop, Tryon Bike Shop, Cyclopath Bike Shop, all threw in gift cards. Thank you to those local shops. Hincappy, Peppernut Sauce, have all thrown in some stuff. We've got a lot of fun games we're starting to set up here. We've got we're playing a little fantasy game, in-house fantasy game. The winners of that will get a Dirty Bikes Gravel Series free entry, and then there's an autographed George Hincappy jersey and an autographed Anthony Clark hat. So we're giving away those prizes.
Very nice.
And we're gonna do some trivia, some cyclocross trivia that'll be going around. So people are starting to filter in. They're going to check out the live stream. They're going to have some drinks and some food here at this amazing restaurant. If you haven't been here before, you got to come down and check it out. They closed for the winter and opened up just for us today. But spring, summer, fall, and this is just a beautiful place to be. We'll get some shots of it before we go here, but you can see the full lake, and it's a pretty awesome place.
Yeah, it's spectacular. I hadn't been here myself before, and the view of the lake is fantastic. It's a little foggy, cloudy today. That's still a fantastic view. You're just looking down the whole lake. So really, really great venue. It's a privilege to be here, be able to watch Cyclocross here, do the show. So many great sponsors, and I think speaking a little bit, we said before about developing Cyclocross. And I think you see the shops, you see Park Ave involved with prizes, putting this together, Full Moon involved and putting up prizes and supporting what we're doing here for Cross. Try on Bike, getting in on it. So I think you see our local bike shop. Those are the shops. It's easy to get on Amazon. It's easy to get on all these things. You're clicking to buy, but when you want those people to go and see, these are the people that are supporting your sport. Go see them and support their livelihood because they're supporting what we all like to do. I think that's an important aspect of all of this stuff that you're bringing through. Even once again, Butter is a local company, and really supporting those things. We're an e-retail Legacy Bikes, but we're still local, small, and I see people clicking on it, and we get visitors, and then they went off and they bought something at a big box, or they went online to buy it. So support those local ones. We have great shops.
You can't. There's so many things. It's so hard to be a bike shop. Because of everything being online and being able to purchase everything online. But they provide so much that you can't get online. The advice, the mechanical support. I can barely change my own tire. Like if there wasn't a bike shop, I don't know. I wouldn't have a working bike. It would be a horrible mess. So you really need to go out and support those businesses. It's easy to buy on Amazon, but and it's great for some stuff. But those bike shops, they make everything else happen. They're the glue to the cycling community.
Well, right, and you have that expertise in some of these guys, and I know some of the mechanics well. And you get a guy like Brian over at Full Moon Vista when I need something, and I'm usually amazed because I'm coming into like the disc wheel market, the disc brake market late, right? I'm gonna be the last guy on the road bike without discs, right? But I've had him on another cross bike that I own, and I need to get some replacements. And so I asked him, well, what size do you need? Well, there was only one size before. I'm like, now there's sizes, right? But he'll know all that stuff, and that's really what you pay him. So I'm not like I don't have to do all this research because I can just say, look, here's what I got. I can bring my wheel down there. Here's what I need, and it's right. He takes a look and says, "Oh, you need this," and I got the right thing. And that expertise is worth a lot, and being able to have those people to talk to, service your equipment, and like I said, they're supporting events like this. They're the ones making the camps and the clinics and the big UCI races, which is a huge monumental lift. And for a shop to be supporting those kinds of things and making the sport from all aspects and all ends is really important. So if you're looking for stuff and you're looking to buy things for stocking stuffers, for gifts, this is the time. Go down there. Get down there this weekend. I know most of the shops are open Saturdays till at least 5 o'clock. Post race, go down and visit them. Get your stocking stuffers and get down to Full Moon, get down to Tryon and Park Ave and Cyclopath as well. If you're a little bit farther south and you're towards the Geneseo area, whatnot, get down and see those guys as well. And they're big supporters of what you guys have done.
Oh, huge from the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. Support all of our races and our race team. And I mean, you can't say enough good things about Cyclopath and all the bike shops and the way that they support everything that's been going on. Along with that, we also want to really have a special thanks to Dan Strine, our producer from Gnarly Monkey. Dan has set all of this up. He's coordinated the interviews. He's got all the equipment here. We couldn't have done this without him. Usually when Todd and I are doing a podcast, we're just talking to each other through Skype and trying to make it look pro. But with Dan here, he's really polished it up and really done an amazing job, and also used his connections to get us the interviews with guys like Kerry and Jay Powell and all of that. So and Katie and all those interviews you're still going to see. So really thank him, and go to his website, gnarlymonkey.com. He's got some content up there. He's growing that content. If you're an event organizer, hit him up. He does non-cycling stuff as well, as far as promotional stuff through his other company. But certainly for cycling, he's passionate about cycling. He does our races. He's going to be out at Austin this year again. He was out there last year. He was at the airport crit with a drone and a camera and got some really cool footage for some of that stuff. So if you're looking to promote your races, here's the place to do it. Come on.
One thing I think is worth mentioning too, I think we can sort of look at what Dan's doing with Gnarly Monkey, and he's certainly a race presence, but we also produced a TV commercial for Legacy Bikes last year, and Dan was great with that. We went out and got some good B-roll, and not only did we get good B-roll, he went through and did all the editing, added in all the audio that we needed to make it happen, and we could go to a TV station and present them with a finished product, and even if they wanted to tweak it a little bit for what they had for the slot, it was 95% of the way done, and Dan was great with that. So I think, not just thinking of Gnarly Monkey as, hey, I have a race event. you have something you need to produce a video. He's your guy. He's got everything he needs to do that, and so look him up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our interview with Katie Compton. We're going to see some of those clips as well. I hear a little trivia going on back there.
Right.
They're starting to compete for some prizes on the trivia. So our interview with Katie, we got to talk to her. We're going to see a few clips from that a little later in the show. We got to talk to her, I think it was Wednesday night. What struck you as important about what she had to say? Because I don't think we're seeing the full thing today. I think we're going to see a couple of series of clips.
Right. I think I think you definitely see a lot of confidence. I think she's had her hurdles, her barriers, if you will, to get over this season. I think it's natural as a master's age, still somewhat competitive cyclist myself. I look at it and say, yeah, I know what she's kind of going through. When injuries come easier, you get sick easier. And she's feeling the wear and tear, a little bit of the travel and things. But she's also a professional, and she knows how to pull that together and make that happen. But I think I see in her a lot of confidence right now with where she's at. She's been able to get it together when she's needed to get it together. True professional in that way. I mean, she's had some things to conquer, but she's not letting that be the predominant thing in her mind. And I think even if we get into discussion a little bit about retirement, she doesn't have a date set for that, because why should she? She was second in the world last year.
Right.
I mean, there's an aspect of she hasn't won the world championship yet. I think there's still unfinished business there for her, and she's been arguably very close to it for quite some time. And to get really close to it last year, I think it fuels that fire. I think she's looking and saying, yeah, maybe I'm one of the senior members of the pro peloton, even for cyclocross here, but certainly by no way giving anything away, and certainly possible. I mean, when you're second last year, she's as strong or stronger right now than she's been. She's getting results lately. I think I just see nothing but confidence from her. I think she's ratcheting things up. I think you're going to see a fantastic performance from her today. If she can keep the mechanicals down, I think she's just all dialed in for today and then for February. February 3rd is the big day, right?
Yeah, you got to wonder. I mean, I'm sure she wants to win a national championship, and again, but you got to wonder, like, how much more is Worlds on her radar? How much more is it more important to her to do that, to win that world championship that she's never quite gotten? And just for the record here, for maybe people who don't know, Katie is one of two Americans ever to be on the world podium. Jonathan Page in like 06, 07, I think he was third there. So there's been one male that's ever done it, no other females. And Katie's been on 5 times. She's been top 3 in the world, including second last year. She was 5th also once, so she was at that extended podium, I guess, if you want to call it that.
They don't do extended podiums at Worlds, I don't believe. So.
Yeah. Don't know. The podium's top 3. Top 3.
It's real podium.
Yeah, not top 5, top 3, right? That's podium.
But I think she's. I think she would be foolish to think that nationals is the biggest priority on her mind. But it's certainly a priority. I mean,
sure.
She likes racing in the Stars and Stripes, and to be able to go to a World Championships with the Stars and Stripes is something special. I think it's something. It doesn't matter if it's 14 times. It's still something special. And I think she's going to be hungry for it today. But I think in the bigger mapping of things. Worlds will be the bigger one, but it's not that far away either. When you cut down to, you got about 7 weeks, not even, maybe 6 weeks now, and Worlds there. So she wants to be on form. She wants to be healthy. She wants to roll. She's rolling back to Europe Monday, so it's tomorrow. So almost it's not even a day from now. So she's rolling out tomorrow, going back. I think that's going to be the big thing. I think she'd be liking to roll back with the Stars and Stripes in her bag.
Which is another important point about Katie. A few other notes here is the last 2 seasons in particular, she's run a primarily Belgian schedule. So she's racing at that international competition for pretty much the whole season, and then comes back for national championships, which can be a huge advantage because a lot of times the courses are harder, the races are faster. I wouldn't say it's as big of a jump at the women's level as it is the men's level for a man to be over there racing at the international level. Our ladies compete there at a pretty high level, but certainly a much deeper fields, even if the top ends aren't way faster. So she's got a huge advantage coming in that way and being through that prep. But she doesn't see Ellen and Keo all year long or very often. There's a few overlaps there. So what do you think? How does that play in her favor or against her or with her competition?
I think it plays in her favor. I think it's probably harder for other riders to not see Katie often, as it is less of a disadvantage for her to not see them often. She's seeing top quality. She's seeing some of the best in the world. They're seeing each other, the best in the country. And so they know each other well, so they're seeing less of the level that she's seeing on a consistent basis. So I think it's harder for them to kind of say, where's Katie really at? It's hard to get that barometer off of, like, okay, she was 10th in a World Cup, say, and you're like, okay, but what was the rest of the competition like? And you already know that she's strong, so you got to know that those are really hard fields. So she's really pushing her limit, and so you don't have that contact to say, well, how do I slot in with that? Where do I fit? Am I going to be able to hang? If she twists the throttle, am I going to be able to stay on or not? Because I don't know. Because I haven't had a lot of contact time. They know each other, but she's kind of the unknown. But an unknown in
a giant. I mean, imagine the unknown being probably your childhood hero. I mean, Ellen Noble is, I think, 23 and Katie's 40. So you're talking about, Ellen's whole youth career coming up. That's who she's looking to as her, I'm sure, somebody who she's idolized and wanted to race with and race against. So to not only not know what she can bring, but also potentially the intimidation of that and the pressure of, can I take over? Can I take that from my hero?
Right. Oh, sure. I mean, there's all, and I think that's, and it'll speak well to, I think, Ellen's professionalism. As I say, she knows who she is as a rider. And she wants to measure herself against the best, and she's been doing that, I think, domestically, national scene. But really, to have Katie back at this event and saying, okay, now this is the big measure. And he either walks away with that jersey today, men or women. And I think, right now we're talking about the women's field. They're going to earn that jersey. It's not going to be I walked away from it and I was 75% of what I should have been. They're going to know they really earned that jersey. Nobody's handing anything away. And but I think Ellen's she's a confident professional. She's going to come into this thing knowing that she deserves to be there. And you can't be looking at it as Katie Compton. What am I going to do? She's the greatest cyclocross racer in U.S. history. So Ellen's there to win that race.
Yeah.
So is Katie Keough. They're there to win that race. They're not going to be sitting there. They're not getting autographs in the start line.
Absolutely. I like that. Not getting autographs. I'd be getting autographs in the start line.
Right, but we'd also be going out the back on the first lap, right? So,
they wouldn't let me on the start line.
Which is why we'd need the autographs, because nobody's going to see us again.
Right.
So,
absolutely. All right, so more on Katie and the women's race coming up. But right now we're going to transition to our interview with Jay Powell from last night. So you can hear a little bit about his perspective on the race and what he thinks will happen in today's main event. So
you raced the course earlier this week. How did it look earlier this week, and how does that change going into tomorrow? It looks like it's getting wetter and wetter. So what's that do for you?
Yeah, it definitely changes things a lot. I mean, the course that I rode on Tuesday is not the same course that I rode today. I rode yesterday as well, drier conditions again. A little bit of precipitation and moisture yesterday, which made it slippery, but not like it is now. Now, I would say, it was almost 100% rideable on Tuesday. I was cleaning full laps 100% without having to get off. I was even riding the limestone steps, although the last time up I decided to run them. But in general, it was primarily a 100% rideable course. Yesterday when I rode it, I had to get off for 1 or 2 sections, just for like a short 5, 6, 7 seconds jog kind of thing up something that was too steep, but then right back on. And today, that's out the window. The courses have changed considerably, and it's I would say it's more like a 70% running, 30% riding at the moment. So it's definitely, it's flipped completely, and I predict that there will be some changes made to the course to open up some grass. That's my sense of what will happen, because they're not going to want that much running. You know what I mean? They're not going to want it to be that heavy on that one end. So that's what I see. I mean, the course
without any precipitation is extremely challenging. So when you add in the precipitation, the off-camber stuff, it just becomes, it does become unrideable. Like the bikes can't do it. Right. So that's what we're up against. That's what it's looking like. And the rain has now stopped here in Louisville. So anyone's guess as to what's going to come.
Gotcha. As a racer, you prefer the more rideable courses to the running courses, or doesn't it really matter? Or what would you prefer in a perfect scenario?
Yeah, I definitely would prefer it to be more riding. I prefer that to be on the other end, 70-30 at least. You know what I mean? I've pretty traditionally done well in courses that are muddy but rideable. But when it's going to be such a heavy weight towards running, it definitely is not my. I have big calves. I have big calves, Tony. And they always say, like, any weight below your knee means that you run slower. And so I don't know if that's true. I got big feet, big ankles, and big calves. So I got some things working against me there. But I kind of, like, from years of doing this, I put that warrior mask on. You know what I mean? I'm, like, ready for a battle. And I know how to ride in the mud. And if there is a way to ride it, then I'm going to be fully focused on trying to pick the best lines and get the most out of myself and do everything that I can to compete with the guys that are excellent, pre-Fontaine level runners.
Awesome. So injuries kind of been the big story for you personally, but also for the whole field going into tomorrow. Hyde's been injured a lot this year. Tobin's out. Jamie's out. You came back with Ruts and Guts last weekend and had a stellar finish there. What's that look like on the injury front for you personally and kind of for the rest of the field?
Yeah, I mean, I said that if I line up here fit and ready to rumble, that it's that's a success, and I do mean that. I think that I'm happy that I'm back. It is good. Injury is part of sports, so you can't say like, oh man, if this just hadn't happened. Like it's just time. You will get injured as an athlete, so you have to know that, and you have to be prepared for it. It's not the end of the world. You just have to make a plan and come back from it. I think everybody has one. I mean, Steven has done a really good job, obviously, of coming back to full strength. He showed that 2 weekends ago in Warwick that he was very strong, and I think that it's too bad that Jamie Driscoll and Tobin Orenblad are also out with injuries. It's definitely a great course for James. He would have done really well here. Tobin would have. I don't think this is Tobin's like full strength. I'm sure he could have had a great race here if he was training for it, but definitely James I think will be missed and was definitely podium potential if you came in here at full strength. So yeah, we're missing some people from the front group, but injuries happen. Those guys had those guys got the first half of the season, and then now the last half they have been absent and we've been present. So it's been an interesting change of the guard, flipping of the script, kind of, if you will.
So last year you had some injuries too going into nationals, and then had a phenomenal performance. Really, really exciting race last year. Is that help going into this year that you've kind of been there, or is this year a little different in that regard?
I think things are the same. I always just try to bring 100% of myself. It's hard because when I was in my early 30s, in late 20s, I won often, and it was like, so if I didn't win, then I had a bad race. But I over the last 3 seasons, I've had a lot of seconds and thirds, and I've been on the podium a lot, but I haven't necessarily won as often as I would have liked to. And I think that injury is just part of the game. When you look at the whole picture, it's like, how can you bring yourself to the line, focused and ready to perform, and put yourself in a position to be able to win. This weekend is definitely, one of the big goals that I've had for the year. If the conditions play out more into my favor, I still believe that I can do really well here, and I would like to factor for the win. But if the conditions are similar to what they are, it's going to be a lot harder race for me to control like that, because it's just going to be so. It's going to be such a heavy running race. It's going to be so much running and so much different stuff. So I'll have to definitely dig deeper into the box of tricks and really try to see what I can do to minimize any loss that I would get on that. It's just such a hard track with so much. If you're not running, then you're climbing, and if you're not climbing, then you're probably resting on this one. It's like, it is really unique. So anyway, to answer the question exactly, it's I'm bringing 100% to it. I hope that I can perform like last year, I know that Gage and Steven will be the two riders that you need to look out for tomorrow. I think Kerry Warner will do well, but Curtis White is definitely is someone that I'm very much considering a threat to the Jersey for sure, just given the way the course looks right now with the amount of running and elevation.
Does that, and that kind of brings me to two questions. One, I want you to talk a little bit about Gage sort of entering late and like what he does to that dynamic. But also, does having all of those guys kind of in the mix, does that maybe take a little pressure off of you, if at all? Like maybe, I mean, I don't know if they overlook Jeremy Powers at all, but could that possibly be where these guys are maybe a little more focused on each other and kind of take some pressure off of you and maybe open some things up for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the race becomes tactical, then of course it does open that up to jump to that first. You know, I think if Steven and Gage are looking at each other, or Curtis and Gage and Steven are looking at each other, or Kerry, Gage, Steven, Curtis, if they're all looking at each other, and then that gives me an opportunity to come back. If someone makes a mistake, then that obviously brings that's what cyclocross is, and it gives me, an opportunity to come back. I think that I plan to race the race hard at the start. I think that there is a good. I think that there is a good chance that there's going to be crashes in the first half, and if you're not in the first bit, then you're going to be out of contention. So I think if you're further than 5 back, then it's going to be very, very hard to come back in this race because of the single file nature of a lot of these sections that you're going to see. And so my plan is to be up front, early, and to make sure that I'm there and I'm dictating some of what I want from the race as well, not just letting someone go out and fire off and do what they want to do. So that's first thing. And then with regards to Gage entering the race, I think I was surprised that he hadn't already announced that he would do that up until this point, but he is doing it, and I think that's, if I was in his shoes, I would have done it too. So he's a good competitor. It's a big race. He's 20 years old. I know he likes to play the underdog role, but I know he feels the pressure. So it takes more than just an engine to win a national title. It takes a lot, and mental strength and all of that. So I do still think that Gage is an incredible rider. I think it's just I don't know how he's going to deal with the pressure of winning an elite national title quite yet. So that's my only thing. But I do know he's strong enough. There's no question that he's strong enough to be able to do it. Whether or not he is able to execute or not, we'll only be able to tell tomorrow.
Yeah, he definitely adds an exciting dynamic. Do you think him holding late was him kind of waiting to make it up, or do you think it was a little gamesmanship of I'm going to wait late and then kind of come in and surprise everybody, maybe mess with other guys' heads a little bit because they weren't worrying about it? Do you think any of that plays in, or is it just sort of how he chose to do it?
For another race, maybe, but for nationals, everyone's already going to give 100% in the lead up to it. They're already going to try for the title. So, I think that's the thing that's different. Is like, yes and no, but it didn't. When I heard Gage was going, I didn't go out and do a 4-hour ride. You know what I mean? I already had done my preparation. I had already planned for my, to be as prepared as I possibly could. And so, I think for like everybody, it's just the same. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. He kind of announced late last week that he's going to come. So, yeah, I was expecting that he would, like I said, be a part of the elite race. I was surprised when he hadn't already jumped up because I think that he is a step above the other kids that are in his age category. So it makes total sense for him to race at the elite race in nationals, and I think that he definitely has a good shot at being on the podium in the top 5 for sure. So yeah, he's on my radar. He's been on my radar. I think like a year or two ago, I said something along the lines of like, yeah, as soon as Gage and Spencer and these guys start coming up, the time's ticking.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get in there before these guys start coming up to the elite ranks. So here they are, and so it's important to, be mindful, but also realize that they're 20. That's 15 years younger, so it is different, and I think it's cool because it's like we're all at a similar level, and there is so much difference. You know what I mean? There's like, you have on one side you have so much experience, and then on another side you have so much snappiness and youth. It's like they really do equal each other out. So it's it's just classic. It's just like the KG veteran versus the young whippersnapper.
Yeah, the opening
and
line.
Not even in my case, like also with Steven and Kerry. I mean, they're also almost 10 years older than him.
Right. Yeah, I wondered kind of how that would affect those guys, particularly. Not planning on having him in there until late, and then going, oh man, I got to beat him too, kind of a thing. As that comes in, just psychologically, I'm sure they kind of prepare physically the same way, but coming off that race, Hyde wins, he's ahead of everybody else who looks like he's got a beat going in, and then Gage announces a day or two later, and whether that has an effect on Hyde psychologically or not, or whether that was sort of the point, or it just kind of comes out that way, I don't know.
I think it does. I think it has an effect on everybody. It's just like, okay, cool, we got someone else in the mix. It's like 5 potential winners.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's exciting for us. I mean, I hope it's exciting for you guys. It's definitely exciting for us.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's more than 5 potential winners. I mean, we haven't even talked about Tweak, but I mean,
right.
Anthony is quite possibly the fastest runner that I know, and he's extremely lightweight. So, and he's been riding his bike technically, he's been invincible this year on the technical stuff. I mean, I just can't believe how much of a jump he's made. So it's like there's more than 5 guys that can win the race, and I think that if it's so hard to say with the conditions, but if it does stay the same, I think that there is a lot of potential for one of these dark horses to come in on a shining, a big day.
Yeah, for sure. How's the dynamic with Curtis and Hyde work, them being on the same team? Is that something that affects the rest of the field? Are they able to work off of each other? Is this course too technical for that to matter? Would it make the difference on maybe a faster course, or not at all?
I have no idea what their arrangement is. I do know that obviously they would like to win the Jersey as a team, no question, but I think that it's such an individual sport, such an individual race, that I would believe that they're looking out for themselves first and foremost, and if there's an opportunity to help once one of them realizes that the other one's better, then maybe that comes into play. But I don't think that would happen until late in the race and in a very specific set of circumstances when someone open a gap or put themselves in a position to help the other rider. I think that they're going to be riding for themselves first and foremost on this day.
All right, cool. Yeah. So is that any different when you were young and on Tim Johnson's team? Is it sort of a similar dynamic, or is that a different comparison?
Yeah. No, I think it's similar. I mean, Tim and I always. I think it's similar to Steven and I now. It's like there is there's this innate, like, I have to beat this person, so we can't be too close. You know what I mean? That's kind of the sense that I get. It's like no one. I mean, outside of like Anthony, I like hug it out with Anthony all the time because we're super good friends, and I want to see Anthony do well in everything that he does. Like but as far as like Curtis or Kerry or Steven, I have different relationships with all of them. Like if they become a fierce competitor to me, then I do want to beat them. So like the amount of hanging out and the amount of like bro time that we spend is like, it goes down because we have in the back of our head that this is the person that we have to beat. So how can you be so close to someone that you have to sort of dislike a little bit? I mean, not like necessarily as a person or anything like that. I like all these people everyone as a person. They're awesome, but I do think that you have to have a little bit of that killer mindset and not let them be super close to you. If you're doing extra top secret training in the middle of the night with your headlight on, I'm probably not calling up Hyde to go on it with me. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get an advantage for myself. So I think, I think that there is definitely a dynamic of animosity or anger or competition, really, is what it should be called.
Is that hard, given the fact that you've been a mentor to so many of these guys for so long? They've been on teams and development programs with you, and you've been such a leader. You were also a champion, which is such an awesome dynamic. But you can cut it off. Like, I'm done.
No. I know what you're saying though, and the answer is no, because I know I can't go forever, and that was always my philosophy, is that there's going to be a time when I want to step out, and I want this to continue, and if I don't help, then there won't be another one of a top rider. You know what I mean? And it's great because Steven really did carry that torch and has carried that torch since we hung out together and did a lot of training and traveling. And Anthony, we've worked with Anthony for 10 years, not just on the bike, like off the bike as well. And I think that it's great. It's great. I have no, and I think, just with the philosophy and the way that we think about the way that we train and the different stuff, that a lot of that has come down the pipeline as well. So I think people are taking it more seriously. And it's like when you think you're at your best, and then your best is that level, but then when you get there, then you can go from there up, and that's what a lot of these riders have done. Like if you look at like a really awesome rider, then you'll see them, okay, they're probably riding ahead of their time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like a Vanderpool is maybe riding ahead of his time right now, but there will be someone that comes in and knocks him down, and then they will step up again. I mean, it's just that's how it is. Things get better and faster and more refined and better prepared for. So training techniques are learned from older riders, and then the climb to the top is shorter. So I think all that stuff is real, and it's not just in cycling; it's in all sports. It kind of plays out that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the cool things about cyclocross is we're starting to see the history of that. So it is sort of a young sport here when you compare it to, say, baseball or something like that. It's generations and generations. And I grew up a huge baseball fan. I know your grandfather played pro ball, right?
Yes.
So you got a baseball background. And for us growing up, baseball was like a multi-generational sort of pastime. My grandfathers loved it, my dad loved it, my uncles loved it. So like a lot of the history and the trivia of what happened decades ago and the way it built was really sort of the most fun of the sport for us, I always thought. So I like seeing sort of the beginnings of that with cross, and you're kind of at a really special point there. Do you ever sit back and kind of look at sort of where you're at in that history and what that might look like in 5, 10, 20, 50 years? Or
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what it will look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years. I mean, I think that I know that I will be happy with what I did because I gave it 100% of myself the entire time. So I could never, I always told myself that if you give 100%, then you can never be, at no point will you ever be disappointed in what you were able to do, or whatever result you were able to get. And so I worked on myself. I grew as a person. I grew as a rider. I grew up through the sport. I've helped as many people as I possibly can to get into the sport, to promote the sport, to be a part of it, to build the community, to create events. So when I look at my resume or whatever, this rolling resume of things that I've done through the sport, it feels like I've got my education and my life has been built around it. So I'm pretty good with what I've done. And if I always say if you win one more Gloucester, if you win one more of this, or if you make it 100 races you won, or versus 94, or whatever the numbers are, does it actually matter? Does it change anything? And at the end of the day, it doesn't. I would love for all these huge statistics, but I can't write the history or what people will say. I think there are a lot of great riders and a lot of great people, and I think those, from a domestic standpoint, I think that people will remember the contribution. And I hope that it was, I hope that it helped a lot of people. I can't really say for myself what that's going to look like, but I do know that I gave 100%, and I loved every minute of it, and it's been awesome. And yeah, we'll see what the future holds. I have no idea what's going to happen.
how about the women's side of things? There's kind of a really exciting dynamic there. Again, you're talking about historic racers and marks with Katie, 14, looking at 15. Ellen, maybe being the favorite to come in and take that from her. And obviously a rider you've worked a lot with. So what do you think going into that race tomorrow? What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, it's an interesting, great race. It is definitely, as it is now, I think it does favor Katie Compton or Katie Keogh. Not to take anything away from Ellen, it's just a very heavy track. Ellen's a much spicier rider, if I would say. She likes to punch out of corners and have a lot of grip, and she does great in mud. I mean, she doesn't have any problems with it. It's just that Katie is she's so good, and she does so well in the mud for so long that I think that it will benefit her a little bit with that level of running and stuff like that. But Katie Keogh is she's so light and lean. It's such a smaller rider that up these hills, when they're this hard, it's gonna bend. She can run, 10, 12 psi and get away with it, where the other riders are gonna, it's gonna be more to bring up the hills. She's just a smaller person. So again, I don't have a prediction for that race because I think that it's gonna play out again uniquely. I think it is gonna be very much of who keeps their head on, because there's gonna be crashes, there's gonna be a lot of spills, and who's able to really put the whole thing together from start to finish, because there will be big gaps because of how hard the course is, and I think that there could be some catastrophic crash. This is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
So if you can hit the deck and get back up and keep moving and keep your momentum, then you're going to be great. If you're like, whoa, I just crashed and cleaned my clock and I'm out of it and I'm not, and you lose your mojo. It's the kind of course that can break you down really fast because it's so hard. It's easier to give up on this course, is that what I'm trying to say. So it's going to take someone that's very mentally strong, and each of those riders, Katie definitely, Compton, brings that depth. She brings that year, those 14 titles of experience to know how to deal with a setback or a flat tire or a crash. And I have no idea. Just like I said, for Ellen or for Katie Keogh, it would be a Caitlin Keogh. It would be a. It's gonna be. There's that challenge of winning their first title. That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. All right, man.
And that's the same. And that's the same in the men's race. You know, it's
Sure.
to overcome. I mean, the titles have been wrapped up by myself and Steven for the last, I think, 7 years, something like that. So I guess Jonathan Page tuck one in there for John. But again, John had already won one previously. So
Right.
you're looking at a very short list of people that have won them. So someone coming in to seize the moment from someone that has that locked in mental, killer to be able to win a title. It takes a little something extra. That's all I'm trying to say.
That knowing how to win when it's on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not letting the nerves catch you.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us, and good luck
got it.
tomorrow, man. We'll be rooting for you.
Okay, you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in.
That's Dan's hand, in case you were wondering.
Cool. Thanks.
Good
All
luck
right,
tomorrow.
guys. All right. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Have a good one.
Yeah, man.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So, real good kid and a lot to share there. So I think they're queuing that up right now, and we will hear from him and see how his U23 race went. See how that felt like not having Gage Hecht in it when they were thinking they were going. All right,
We're gonna head over.
We're gonna head over
I
here.
think we got Chris queued up here.
Norbold.
Just back up a little.
Okay. Do I need the mic on or no?
Yeah, you're gonna have to leave.
Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
All right, excellent.
Okay.
All right, Chris.
Hey, you're just gonna have to listen. All right. Hear us?
What's going on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. How'd your race go, buddy?
Well, the race went as well as it could. It's a super technical, challenging course. It's really hard. I'm good on the course thing. Let's. I mean, look at that stuff. It's insane.
Nasty. That's awesome.
So, on the third lap, I ended up breaking my floor. So, when I was looking, the shoe came off. I was unable to finish, which sucks. But it's bike racing, and you just gotta live with it.
Hey, can you hold that up to your mouth a little bit closer, or hold that up to your face? Yeah, turn your volume up.
My volume up?
Yeah, just maybe hold it a little closer, just so we can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
All right, there we go. How'd your field feel about Gage Hecht not being in the race? Was there a different dynamic there?
I mean, I think Spencer would have given Gage one for his money. I am the truck was so it really didn't matter to me. I think Gage will have a good ride and fans and.
What do you think as the women's race gets queued up here? What is the feel there, and how do you think that's going to go?
Well, the fuel is pretty. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like very ecstatic. Right now, it's like and people are getting hyped up. Kids are insane. But yeah, it's awesome.
How about the men's race? Who's your picks for the top three in the elite?
That's a hard. I think I Curry Winner are going to be up there. Gage possibly. I think Gage has practiced well in Europe, so I think Gage, Kerry, and I, in no particular.
All right, man. We'll let you go and get cleaned up. Thanks for joining us, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks.
All right.
It's getting a little snowing around.
So the women's race is about to start, and we're going to hit a couple quick predictions here for that race, and then we'll talk about the men's race when the women get
Right,
wrapped up.
I'm just looking over at the feed to say because they're a 12:45 start, and it's I have 12:45, so they should be staging now. I think we're seeing some. I don't know. We're watching If you're watching the feed now, you're also seeing somebody riding through as Chris Norwold showed us. The course is really sloppy. So.
All right. Yeah. So we got a couple. Just a minute here. So who's your top 3 for the women?
So your top 3 for women. I'm going Katie Keogh. I'm going Compton, then Noble. I think the running is going to be a big factor here. I think it's going to take Compton a little bit off of her usual game. Not that she really has a usual game. So my heart says I think Compton. I'd love to see her do it again, of course, but I also like to see a new generation. But I think this running is going to change it. I think Katie's strong. She's really good in the wet. Doesn't have all the experience, all the water behind the dam, but I think that puts her just a little bit over Compton today. I think Noble's strong. She can be there. She can be forcing some stuff. She's going to be up in that mix. But I think it's just going to be Katie's going to be a little bit stronger with the running game part of it. Maybe she proves us all wrong. And then there's always probably somebody sitting 5th or 6th that you can kind of discounting. It's going to see a crack, a door open a little bit. Is going to push that open and jump over everybody. But I don't think it's going to be 15 for Compton. Sorry, Katie, I love you. I want to see you do it, but I really want to see you start in the rainbow stripes in February, and I think that's really where you're going to be shining. So.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to disagree. I'm going with Katie on this one. I think you got to beat the champ to be the champ, and I think she's going to still be the champ. I think the course is too hard and too muddy for Ellen to take it on maybe a faster course where she would. I do agree, though. I think we got the same top 2, just the other order. I think Keogh's second behind her in the muddy course, and then Ellen's going to be third outside of that with that difficult muddy course. I think Compton's training in Belgium and those courses are going to really help her. At the same time, though, she has to have her best day. She told us on Wednesday that she used to be able to win on bad days, and I don't think she can win on bad days anymore. She said that, and I think that that's true. So if she doesn't have her best day, mechanical issues come up, it's really anybody's game, and I think you got some outside favorites there with Farringer and Crystal. Anthony in particular, who I'm putting in 4th and 5th, but if things go haywire, I think you could see them sneak onto a podium spot and take something. Crashes, composure is going to be huge in both races. So we'll see how that plays out.
Absolutely.
All right. So it looks like it's race time. So we're going to end our feed here. Head over to USA Cycling and watch the women's race live and watch that. And then we'll come back after that race. We'll do a little post-race wrap-up. And we'll talk about the men's race and our predictions there. And we will also hopefully have an interview with Magnus Sheffield from the 17-18 race. So
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in an hour.
You switched your order. I had your order down before. You were going to do that down to the